I spent years living all the way in the box, afraid to step out, afraid to truly grab hold of my dream. And now I am breaking through, and I invite you to join me.
Your breakthrough starts now. Coming up on today's show, get ready to be inspired and transformed with our featured guests. Find out what's trending and get advice on life's daily challenges with Erica's top tips of the day. All of this and so much more coming up. So stay tuned. This is your one-stop shop for inspiration. The Erica Latrice Show. And now, here's your host, Erica.
Hello and welcome to the Erica Latrice Show. This is your one-stop shop for inspiration. Coming up on today's show, I have a double dose of inspiration for you today in the Be Inspired Cafe. We have Ann Woodbury, as I rename her today, who is helping you to advocate. She experienced something with her family and a diagnosis, and she's able to help you understand how to start speaking up and overcoming trials when they come your way. And speaking of overcoming, we have Cindy Watson here today, whose superpower is literally empowering you to step out and negotiate and advocate for yourself without apology. I'm telling you now, I'm giving you the heads up. Grab a notepad, lean a bit closer to your screen, because today is going to inspire you like nothing else. And these two powerhouses in the Be Inspired Cafe, I got my coffee. I'm ready to get some good notes going today. So my question for you today is, do you have trouble speaking up for yourself? Do you find it challenging to advocate for yourself, to negotiate when needed, and even speak up when things aren't feeling right for you medically? Well, we're going to get into all of that today. So answer that question. You got about 30 seconds to answer it. Huge shout out to this amazing conference that's actually mine. Our sponsor today, Born to Soar Conference. Tickets are from free to VIP. So make sure you go to borntosoarconference.com to get your ticket. Take a look at this, answer our question, and we'll be right back.
Get ready to soar at the upcoming Amplify Her Born to Soar Conference. You can get your tickets at borntosoarconference.com with options for the VIP upgrade, and it's all designed to help you expand your reach, increase your voice to stand on your story. If you're ready to get around like-minded women on a mission, then this is the best place to get started. So we'll see you at our upcoming event. Go to borntosoarconference.com.
Welcome back. I'm super excited about our first guest coming up today. Cindy has so much amazing energy. She will inspire you, encourage you, and I promise you'll feel like just taking over every area of your life with power. So welcome with me into the Be Inspired Cafe. Cindy, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great. Thanks for having me, Erica. I'm thrilled to be here.
Awesome. I'm excited to have you here. I'm going to pass the mic to you. I would love for you to tell us just a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
Okay, you bet. Well, I was an attorney for 30 years, still practicing law. And, my clients knew me as the Barracuda, which they meant as the highest compliment. And I am now embarrassed to say I wore like a badge of honor for many years. But there's a really high cost that comes from that, because I had great success. But I suddenly had an epiphany one day and recognized that, you know what? Everything we've been conditioned to believe about negotiation is wrong. So I have been on a mission ever since to reframe negotiation, how we look at it and how we do it. Because women in particular ended up really being disadvantaged by our conditioned definition of what it means to negotiate and to be successful. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm on a mission to do.
I love it. And I think it's really interesting because you've been able to have a successful career, have something that you're passionate about, and that has birthed and opened the door to even more from your initial career. So I would love for you to speak to that. How did you know that you wanted to do even more in that area? What was maybe that like eye-opening moment, like I have to keep going down this path and help others in this area?
Yeah, I love that. Because like I say, I was really successful. I sort of came from nothing, right? Grew up in a low rental apartment. So like a lot of people, I was really driven to sort of succeed, hit all those markers. But the problem is we've been so conditioned to define success based on what I'll call that masculine model, right? That competitive kind of model. And for women in particular, we end up either falling, and I find for my mastermind clients, we fall into one of two camps. Either we shy away from negotiating and really stepping into our power because we don't want to be seen as, well, let's just say the barracuda as opposed to the other B word, and we don't want the conflict. Or we bring, as I did, that overcompensating energy. And I personally started to really notice that when you do that, for women who step back, they miss out on so much in life. They don't ask for what they want. They don't get what they want. It's why women still make so much less money than men. It's why in personal relationships, we tend to not have our needs met as much. But also on the other side, even for those women who think they've overcome it because they're successfully negotiating from this take no prisoners place, there's a high cost that comes with that. So for me personally, Erica, I found it starts to affect your professional relationships, your personal relationships, and ultimately your sense of self. And I'm going to embarrass myself here and share a story. It got to the point once when, if I went to a hotel and they didn't have the right room, I always wore it as a badge of honor that I got the room that I wanted. No matter how many times they told me they didn't have it, I never accepted no for an answer. And one time we're at Lake Louise, gorgeous big resort in Western Canada. It's the middle of winter. We booked a lakeview room. I get up to the room, open the windows, and all I see is just, sort of snowy field. I immediately jump on the phone downstairs going, we paid for a lakeview room. This isn't a lakeview room. Dead silence for a moment. And the poor clerk is like, Ms. Watson, it's winter. The lake is frozen. And that's when I thought, you know what? Okay, I can't be bringing this barracuda all the time. This isn't even authentically me. And that's when I started really digging in, because all of life is a negotiation, whether you're negotiating with your kids, your intimate partner, or even ourselves when we get out of bed every moment. It's probably the most important skill we'll ever learn. So I feel really passionately about helping other women step into their power to be better negotiators.
I love that story. Is priceless. That is so priceless. So my next question to you is, I feel like that's evidence in your life. Have you noticed other signs that maybe other people can look for to figure out, are they out of whack? Are they, like out of alignment with how they're negotiating, whether they're like way too passive or way too assertive?
Yeah, well, I can pretty much guarantee you that the vast majority of your viewers and your listeners out there are already, because we all buy into that deep conditioning, right? So some of the signs to watch for are whether you, on the one end, do you hesitate to ask for what you want? Do you find that you're putting other people's needs before yours? Do you find you have trouble setting boundaries at the one end of the camp? And the problem is women, we've been again so conditioned. I mean, it's almost like, do you remember that scene in Jaws where they're all pulling up their pants and showing their wounds, right? As women, we sometimes wear our martyrdom like a badge of honor, don't we, right? Like, I'm so busy, I'm taking care of this, I'm taking care of that. And so I really try and get women to reframe that. What message are you sending to, whether it's your daughters or other young women out there? You're basically telling them their needs will never be as important as any man in their life. And that tends to be a quick reframe. And at the other end of the spectrum, if you find that everything is a fight, that you feel need to get your game face on all the time to be able to get what you want and to succeed, if you feel like you need to tap into that masculine energy to succeed, then chances are you need a reframe on how you look at negotiation, because you can actually get better results by leaning into your feminine.
Okay, I love this, and I probably have at least 20,000 more questions for you, but I'm going to try to sum it up. So what would you say, what's that one step, if viewers, if they did nothing else today, what's one simple step that they can do to either recognize that they have a problem, or maybe even start taking strides towards a solution?
I would say the simple solution, if it was just one tip that I was going to give, I call it the R-FIT model. Simple acronym for your listeners out there. Just think AREFIT. You are fit to be a great negotiator, because the ARE, it's assertiveness, the R for rapport building, E for empathy, F for flexibility, I for intuition, and T for trust. If you bring those 6 traits, 5 out of 6 of which everybody considers to be feminine traits, so you've already got them in spades. You use them every day already in a million ways that you probably don't think of. So just really get intentional about leaning into that. every discussion, every negotiation that you're going to have, whether personally or professionally, from the boardroom to the bedroom, bring that rapport build. How can I build rapport in this conversation? How can I put myself in the shoes of the other party? That empathy. Want to stay open to be flexible, not just on what I want, but the possibility of even better solutions. Trust your intuition. It's called women's intuition for a reason. And that final T, that trust in yourself, build trust with the other party, and then go back to the A, which is assertiveness. And just remember, assertive doesn't equal aggressive. Assertive just means standing in confidence, and that confidence comes from knowledge, and knowledge comes from preparation. So just do a little homework and think about that RFIT model, and I guarantee you, you will increase your persuasiveness and elevate your influence right out of the gate.
That's so good. I told you all, get your notepad ready. I said that. So gosh, that's so good, because I feel like not having that balance is exactly what you said. It shows up where we're feeling this pressure, like you have to speak up for yourself, and you're like coming through like a bulldozer, you know, like rolling everyone over, or the opposite, where you're the one on the bottom of the bulldozer getting run over. So how can we support what you're doing, get our hands on what's next before we bring you back for final thoughts?
You bet. And thanks for that. I'd say 2 options, tons of free resources, frankly, on my website. So just go to www.womenonpurpose.ca. I've got some free ebooks there on, 5 secret weapons to more effective negotiating, no fear negotiating model as well. Absolutely free resources there. Just jump on and grab them, or go to negotiateyourbestlife.com and consultation as well. I call it a Negotiate Your Best Life breakthrough session, to help at least kickstart to get you on the track. Figure which of the 2 camps you fall into and how you can step up to be the more powerful version of yourself. So thanks, Erica.
I love it. Well, I love your energy. I gave them the heads up. I'm like, listen, Cindy, you bring such amazing energy to the table to help us speak up for ourselves. So we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, when we come back, we have the beautiful Anne, who is waiting in the wings to come out and pour even more encouragement to you all today to help you stand up and advocate for yourselves, and even find that good balance between taking care of your family and taking care of yourself in the process. So I want to say a big thank you to Marie Edwards, who is a sponsor for today's episode. She is helping you to get your finances right. So after you've negotiated the proper pay from listening today to Cindy, then you can take it from there and get your finances in order. So we'll be right back. My question to you is, have you ever hesitated, again, to speak up for yourself? Have you found that it's troubling, or today's a tongue twister day for me, I'm like troublesome, to speak up for yourself? If so, let us know in the comments. We'll be right back. If you have been looking for a sign, here it is. It is time for a financial wake-up call. We all use this daily, but how many of us really know how it works? What I'm talking about is money. And Marie Edwards is a financial educator, financial literacy, and professional advisor, helping millennial and Gen Z women understand how money works and how they can start making it work for them. So if this is something that you have had on your to-do list, it is time to check it off. Go to howmoneyworks.com/Marie Edwards. That's MarieEdwards to book your free consultation or sign up for the next free class so that you can start making your money work for you. Yes, that's like my new favorite song now. So welcome back. We are jumping into the Be Inspired Cafe with Powerhouse today, Anne Woodbury. And she is bringing some great tips, but also a powerful story of how she was able to overcome the challenges that face her and her family, and how she's moving forward and inspiring other people in the process. So welcome with me into the Be Inspired Cafe. And how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm very good. And I'm loving listening to you and Cindy. That's very motivating.
Yes. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I know I'm like, me and you both are sitting there like bobbleheads. Cindy was talking. It's like, gosh, this is good. So tell us just a little bit about, I know that you've had a very powerful story that led you here today, and even with the work that you've put out. So tell us a little bit about your story and what you're most passionate about.
Okay, I'd love to. So in 1 year, I found that my entire family, that's 4 children and my husband, were all diagnosed with a rare disease. It was a disease that the doctors diagnosed us with after some blood work, but pretty much all they could tell us was, okay, we know you have this. You need to be careful if you have surgery, but other than that, we don't have much to tell you about it. We don't know much about it. And I'd had unique children. The oldest was 20 at that point, down to the youngest at 7. They'd been very difficult raising. I adored them and loved them. They'd had problems since birth, but nobody had any answers for me. And they kind of came across in society as sluggish, apathetic, and so we kind of felt like we were misfits. Now, thank God I wasn't diagnosed with this disease, because it's so much work being there for them. But it became my mission to understand this disease and eventually to be able to tell other people about it. The most obvious thing that people complain about that end up diagnosed with this disease is extreme fatigue. So if you know anyone with extreme fatigue, that this is an option for you to entertain. However, most doctors do not know about this disease. If you by chance think that it's something that you're dealing with, you can either go to the myotonic.org website, which is the Myotonic Foundation. I say it's my cause, my family, Myotonic, if that helps you remember it. And my website is mycausemyfamily.com. The other thing that you can do is you need to see a neurologist that works out of a Muscular Dystrophy Association clinic. Or if you're just curious about it, you can go to my website. But I want to tell you more about this disease.
Yeah.
Should I keep going?
Yeah, well, I want to hear a little more about your story in this experience, because I know that a lot of people, even if they can't specifically relate to this disease, at times when our body is giving us warning signs or we're experiencing difficulties, we don't always speak up for ourselves. And I think what I love about your story is that you continue to search until you had an answer. So was there ever a time where you felt maybe uncertain, or you felt like giving up, or how were you able to keep pushing until you truly understood the depth of what your family was faced with?
There were years that I felt uncertain, that I almost felt agoraphobic. I didn't want to go out into society. I really struggled. I doubted myself. My anchor was my sweet mother, and she always believed in me. But it took me many, many years to figure out how I survived. And so I've come up with a personal self-care formula. It's on my website. It's a free download. I hope you can check it out. And what I learned, and the name of it is, it's all about the base. I talk a lot about and have experienced a lot of things like what Cindy said, but I've never heard it in the framework that she mentioned, and that is just incredible. And I did have to develop all of those. But in the process, I was ignoring myself, and I had to learn how to care for myself. And people told me all the time, take care of yourself. And all I knew that to mean was, do you take a bubble bath? I never felt better after a bubble bath. And so I learned that it's all about the base, and that's the formula that I have developed. And so when I get down to the nitty-gritty basics of what I'm missing, I can intuitively find something to fill that in the process. Then if I'm filled and I'm nurtured, then I can be there more for my family.
That was a mic drop moment. You just said it's all about the base. And what I know too is so true, that many of us associate self-care with getting our nails done, or I don't know, like sitting back and sipping your favorite orange juice or something. But it goes so much deeper than that. And I really love today's topic of speaking up for ourselves and acknowledging when something is off and not feeling ashamed for addressing it, because I always say, like, you're stuck with yourself for the rest of your life. Like, there is literally no one else on this earth that you are bound to at the level that you're bound to yourself. So if you're not taking care of you, you really can't show up fully for other people. So what would you say, has there been any maybe like habits that you've implemented or word of advice that you would give to someone right now who maybe their child has received an unexpected diagnosis, or their spouse or themselves? What advice would you give to someone to push in those moments?
It's very intimidating dealing with the medical profession. And so whatever you have to do to nurture yourself so that you have the confidence to go forward. And if you don't get an answer, keep being persistent. There's an incredible resource out there for everyone. It's the number 211. So you can call 211 anywhere in the country, and they can connect you with all of the human resources in your county that can help you. And many of the services are free. So don't give up. Keep looking. You'll find something to help you with that. And then the other thing that I would say is just don't forget to fill your own cup.
So good. So good, because we cannot pour from an empty cup. I probably have like a bunch of questions left for you as well. And I love how what you and Cindy had to share today is so in sync. But how can we get connected with you, support what you're doing, and what's the best next steps that the audience can take to be a part of your movement?
I would love for you to go to my website. It's mycausemyfamily.com. And please download my PDF. It's all about nurturing yourself. And it helps you think in ways that you maybe haven't thought about before. And then I have a newly released book, Surviving Myotonic Dystrophy. It's on Amazon. And I'd love it if you could read it. The reason, even though you may not relate to this disease, is this disease affects the frontal temporal lobe, in other words, the brain, and the cognition of every one of my family members. There are so many people in our lives that are affected cognitively, from the Asperger's all the way to frontal temporal dementia. And I really feel like that I address how to interact with people that kind of seem a little off. And so I'd love it if you could check out my book too.
Yes, well, I've heard just now that it's a great book. And I just love your message. And I love that you show up. And many times when we're going through something, the natural response is to retract and worry about ourselves. But I just love when there are people like yourself, and that you're making it your point, your mission to move beyond even your own family to help other families. So hats off to you. Kudos to you for all the work that you're doing. We're going to take a short break. Anne's not going anywhere, because we're going to wrap up with our final thoughts today. And my question to you is, from what you've heard about advocating for yourself, what you've heard about self-care, what's your favorite self-care technique? You kind of got some hints already, but what's your favorite way to unwind, to recharge, and put yourself at the forefront of your care? So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are wrapping up with our final thoughts. We are bringing Powerhouse Cindy back to the stage, and we are having a blast as we end today's episode. So don't go anywhere. Standout style, the jewelry that makes you truly stand out, because each piece is made uniquely different. Let your style pop and find your signature piece that has special meaning to you, or gift it to someone else. Standout Style Designs create stylish, unique, one-of-a-kind, handcrafted beaded jewelry for women. To find your next custom piece, visit standoutstyle.storeenvy.com. That's standoutstyle.storeenvy.com. Welcome back. It is time for our final. I'm super excited about our special guest today, because I feel like they met ahead of time and they were like sharing notes like, hey, let's come together as a team. So let's start with you, Cindy. Welcome back. From what you've heard today, what would you say? What's that thing that you would hope the audience could walk away with if they walk away with nothing else from today's episode?
Yeah, and I love, because there is that interconnection. Listening to Anne speak, I would say the two big things that really resonated from both of our discussions, I think. One, for me, I say all of life is a negotiation, and tying back to Anne's, the first and most important negotiation you're ever going to have is with yourself. Negotiating your mindset every day. I always say pick 3 words for how you want to show up, throw them on a sticky pad and put them on your bathroom mirror just to ground you in those 3 words every day. And on the healthcare piece as well, just that R-FIT model that I shared works so beautifully with healthcare problems. My daughter had to have open heart surgery. More recently, my son was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and navigating that healthcare system, standing in that assertiveness allowed me to go toe to toe with the world's leading cardiologist. So just using those models and getting intentional will elevate you to the next level.
Gosh, that's so good. I'm telling you, because even what we just saw, the standout style, shout out to Letitia Montgomery, sponsor for today. She talks about as well advocating for yourself and how it led to her finally getting a diagnosis. And it took over a year to get that, because they kept telling her, oh, no worries, it's not a big deal. And I would love to for you to speak to that, Anne, because you mentioned when we see that something may be off, what would you say, what are some of those key steps or that final tip that you would hope the audience will walk away with if they are noticing that something's off, but they're maybe not sure what to do from there?
Well, I would say don't give up. It takes an average of 14 years with this myotonic dystrophy for people to get diagnosed, because it mimics so many other diseases. So don't give up, and always remember that you need to be nurtured, and the only one that can truly knows what you need is yourself.
That's so, I'm telling you, this is so good. So I want to hone in on the self-care, because that's like our underlying theme today. Cindy, what's your big tip, or what's that one thing that you that comes up to mind for you when you think about self-care that's most important?
Yeah, I think it comes down to that mindset piece. So like for me, really simple. Every morning when you get up, before you get out of bed, take that moment to lie there and think of 3 things that you're grateful for in your life. Such a simple practice. It releases. It's impossible to be angry or in a state of fear when you're in that state of gratitude. And the second my feet hit the floor as I get out of bed, every morning I stretch my arms out and say, it's going to be a great day. I take control to retrain my brain to show up the way I want the world to show up. So
that's a mic drop moment. I actually have my alarm set. Like, the name of my alarm is "Today is going to be so amazing!" Exclamation mark, exclamation mark. First thing that I see. And I would love to hear from you. What would you say? What's been one of the greatest lessons that you've learned, or benefits of you being able to keep your self-care at a top priority in your life?
It's to be able to find the magic. Literally, there's magic in every moment. My husband was up at Huntsman Cancer Center. They could not figure his cancer out. He had hypercalcemia. It wasn't making sense. He has reactions to medication, so I pretty much moved in with him. And yet I was able to find delight in every moment. The nurses and their heartfelt involvement. And I love what Cindy said about the empathy. These doctors, sometimes they can be very frustrating because it seems like they're missing something or they're not paying attention. They have full lives, they have great demands, and they are trying. And when you can see that in them, their best shows up.
That's so many nuggets. So I'm taking away today gratitude and self-care. So I just want to remind everyone how they can support you both and connect with what you're doing. Let's start with you, Cindy. Can you just remind us again, how can we follow you and connect with what you're doing?
You bet. I'd say the 2 easiest ways: grab some free resources on my website, www.womenonpurpose.ca, or I'm offering a free breakthrough session at negotiateyourbestlife.com. Either of those are great options. Thanks.
I love it. And Anne, how can we support you and get connected with what you're doing?
So you can go to my website, which is mycausemyfamily.com. You can follow me on Facebook. It's Anne, middle initial S as in Sam, Woodbury. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and it's Anne About the Base.
I love the about the base. So to both of you, thank you so much for taking time out to just share today and encourage us and drop all those major nuggets. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It was great to be here,
Erica.
Yes, and for everyone watching, thank you for tuning into today's episode. If it encouraged you, if something inspired you, tag a friend, tell a trailblazer, and share this. And as I'm always telling you, go out and make today, not tomorrow, not next week. You can't fix yesterday. Go out and make today amazing, because it is absolutely a choice. You can stay connected with me across social media at Erica Empowers, and that's Erica spelled like America. If you're listening and you don't see how it's spelled, you all enjoy the rest of your day.
For more inspiration, visit us online at ericalatrice.com.